Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wong Chat. My Streamlab is acting a little bit weird, so hopefully you can hear me all right. But if not, feel free to let me know. Of course, we're doing this live, as you can tell. We're on twitch.tv/ModernWongPhoto right now. But of course, you can listen to this on iTunes, on Spotify. I'm debating if I should go on Amazon because they did just send me an email saying like, oh, they're doing a podcast part to add on to Amazon Music. And that's a whole thing. I'm not sure if it's gonna be good or not. I did read the terms and agreements, like the actual fine details. Not too happy about it. But maybe. I mean, it's kind of like Spotify, so maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna wait it out for a little bit. But of course, you can also watch this on YouTube as well. There's a link, a playlist to my main channel on Modern Wong Photo on YouTube, but it can go to the Modern Wong Podcast channel. Anyway, today we have Riot Gene on what episode are we on? We are on 46. He is a senior developer relations at Riot Games. He's an entrepreneur. He does advising. He does many other great things, but he is a person with a great mind. So anything esports or not even non-esport related, I'm definitely picking his brain on this. So let's see what he got to say. What's up, Gene?
Hey, how are you doing?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a little sunburned because I'm on vacation.
Sunburn. You look fine on my screen though. I feel like maybe your screen is a little bit just maybe more on the red side. You just look pale AF. I look much more burned than you are.
Yeah. No, I was worried because I forgot sunscreen today when I was out playing golf. But yeah, I'm happy to be here and happy to be chatting. I've honestly watched I think almost all of your interviews and they're all fantastic.
Thank you. Your sweater. First of all, what is it? Check and
is it check. Yeah, and it is a Japanese designer who I'm a very big fan of. He has a brand called Undercover, and he did a collaboration with Nike. I had to pick it up.
See, when I saw that, I couldn't tell. Is it a parody shirt or like whatever? Like my first guess was like, oh, is it kind of like a improv shirt? It's like check and something. But then as soon as I say check, it's like it could be check and balance.
Yeah. Well, actually, on the I don't know if I can show on the shoulders. It says chaos and what was the other side? And balance on this side.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
You were correct.
Yeah, I'm like right there. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So first of all, tell me, you are a senior developer relations.
Yeah.
At
what does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah. What does that do?
So my role is this really weird role where I get to do part engineering, part business development, part marketing, and mainly overall like manage a product. Where I work with developers, like I build out systems and I build out programs for developers of all sizes worldwide to build things around Riot. And this is everything from I am a student in high school and middle school wanting to learn how to code and like kind of prove to my parents, hey, gaming's not all about playing games. It's about also learning and education and stuff like that. To companies in the middle, like that are starting to make money and be profitable, and then big companies that are actually making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year, building stuff specifically for players of Riot's games or for esports teams, and then even further working with companies like Nvidia, Google, the Fortune 500s of the world, making sure that they have data integrations and stuff like that around League of Legends, Valorant, TFT, Legends of Terra, and future games. So I split my time pretty much between all of our games and R&D. And my goal is to have as many people and as many companies have a full-time living building things around anything Riot does. And I've been doing this work for most of my career, where I did it for other companies previously. And it's honestly it's a pretty awesome opportunity that doesn't really exist much elsewhere in the gaming space.
So currently, Riot publicly has about 4 or 5 titles. I'm losing count.
We have not counting mobile, and not counting board games. We have 4 main titles. Yeah.
Oh right, I forgot you guys have board games. I actually saw it too a few years ago at Forgot which event it was.
It's honestly, and this is me before even working at Riot. It is the best money you'll spend on a board game because
Really?
the team honestly did an excellent job on like making it as cheap as possible and everything, but still giving really high quality things. I think on like some of the board game rating services,
Uh-huh.
it's incredibly high. It's at least top 100 board games for like and the thing a lot of people like are really positive about is it is very like price per like you get bang for your buck. Like it's really
Mm.
really good. Like metal pieces, replayability, everything
It
like
looks
that.
very
I'm a huge
pretty.
fan.
Because
Yeah.
I forgot what event it was. It might be E3 or something, but like League Riot did like a Rift Walk kind of thing experience.
I remember the Rift
And
Walk.
yeah, it was amazing. And at the end, they were actually showcasing that board game. I think that was the year they came out with it. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
cool. Like I didn't know what it was, but it looks. Have you tried it though? How's the mechanism of
Yeah,
the game?
yeah. No, I've tried it out. I'm a big fan of it. I love figurines and stuff like that.
Uh
So
huh.
I'm a big fan. But I haven't honestly because of COVID and everything else. Not it's pretty hard to play a board game these days.
Yeah, definitely. With
Yeah.
so as I said, there's like at least so many titles
Mm.
at Riot now. Is it more work for you then? Because then you have to deal with like every single side.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It is. It was already a full-time job just working on League of Legends. So we build. That's one of the reasons why a lot of the time I build products rather than directly working things. Where we're always looking to, and my MO is really to how can I scale something and how can I scale myself. And I think
Mm,
scaling yourself is something that a lot of people don't do well. Where
mm,
and Riot honestly and every company I've worked with and managers have really taught me this, which is build ways for you to impact the most amount of people and provide the most amount of value and ignore everything else. Where I want to build systems that I can uh, fire and like work on and there's a process and I don't have to spend a lot of time outside of that and that time that is outside of that can be spent on a different program. So I
mm.
know the process to deal with various things. I have systems in place to do rollouts and everything else like that. So that it's not having to be repeatable and like from scratch each time.
Okay, so it's like very scalable and also like in case like you cannot be the person in the
Yes.
spots, you can have someone come in and say, all right, this is exactly what you have to do, and this is like what you do on this side, especially when you have more titles, then you say, hey,
Exactly.
we need this for this titles, and then I mean this for this position, and then this title for this position, and
Yeah.
it's kind of
And
umbrella it.
as like a newbie to the like to tech industry and working, my philosophy was to build things and be irreplaceable. Like I'm the only person who can handle this. I'm the only person who knows what's going on, everything like that. But I've come around like very quickly, and I've had some great
Mm,
managers who taught me that that's actually a very bad idea. Because like when you do want to go work on something else or grow
mm-hmm,
or the responsibilities expand, it makes it very hard for you to be able to take advantage of the opportunities.
mm,
So I basically operate anything I build at Riot or anything I build in general with the expectation of if I got hit by a bus and put in the hospital or whatever,
mm-hmm.
everything could continue to run because I have documented the entire process. I have like there are spread like it's sure you'd have to do some like you'd have to understand how my brain works sometimes, but like the data is there in spreadsheet form and in doc form and everything to be able to run
Automated system.
at least like an 80% version or so of what my plans were.
I thought about this too, and this is I really wish there was an experience I can do this. This
Mm.
completely sidetrack and off track, but whatever. This what this chat is for. But I was thinking like it'd be cool if there's an experience that I can do where I will lose my memory for a day. Just like I wake up, I have no idea who I am. Like, of
Yes.
course, I have to agree to it, sign a form, and then take some
Mhm.
pills or whatever and do that happen. But then after 24 hours, I'll get all my memories back, but also remember how I felt when I have no memories of myself. I
Yeah.
want to see
I
how much percentage I can catch up about myself.
it's an that would be incredible. I've met some user experience people over the years who
Mhm.
are absolutely amazing about basically resetting their brain and going through a process of understanding how an app works, or like anything, or like going from 0 to 60 or in some sort of system. That like I look at them and I'm like, how do you throw away your common sense? How do you throw
Yeah.
away the years of experience that you've had doing this stuff? It's really really amazing. I got to work early in my career with like an amazing individual named Clemens, and he previously had worked on the NBA app, like the app that every NBA player used. I mean, not a player, viewer used for a very long time to
Mm.
be able to catch stuff. And he was able to talk about at length the what happened in the 0 to 10 seconds, the 10 seconds to 20 seconds, the 30 seconds to 40 seconds, and on, and like
Mm.
break down what the thought process of someone who's never seen this before, how they would react. And he was incredible at everything he did there. I think he actually ended up winning. I didn't know this is a thing, but he won Emmys for his design work and everything like that. He was an
You can
incredible
win
person.
an Emmy for that?
Yeah, I think it's like the viewer experience or type
Huh.
thing, where it's like the
Interesting.
data and everything. But yeah, he was like sourced on like I think 4 or 5 Emmys. He's like on the list for him. He's an incredible individual. I need to catch up with him actually. This is a great reminder.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's hard because like you're so used to doing certain thing like where things should be clicking, and since especially if you were the person who built the thing, you're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I know where to go from there. It's kind of hard to like forgetful to be that way. I mean, it's cool. I wonder would those people also have some kind of split personality kind of
Yeah.
like
I mean,
helpful thing?
a nice thing is that if you, and this is what like honestly the psychology that worked on me to start switching is hey, and it helps that I work at like a place like Riot or in the gaming industry where there's like always like the shiny thing I want to go do, and they're like, Gene, the job you do has to get done,
Mm.
so you need to write down how it's done so you can go do that, and so someone else can do this. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I know I can do this if someone else is able to do this, and that's a big thing to be able
Good
to start from
incentive
scratch.
to help
Yeah,
hand off, you know.
exactly. And so when you hand off, you want to do it well. You want to make sure that person doesn't fail. You want to make sure that they don't have to call you being like, hey, why is this else not working, or how does this work? So documenting is huge, and that's a thing that I definitely learned from being an engineer and product and
Coding.
everything. It's just like you always got to document everything.
I know. I like have whenever I pick up someone else's code, I'm like, oh my god, there's no notes. I don't know what they're doing. I have to like just read everything as if like, oh, and sometimes end up faster if you start building it from scratch yourself. It's just really
Exactly.
annoying.
I have a ton of fun going on GitHub and just searching through and just being like, oh, this looks like an abandoned project, and like taking it over and working, or like seeing if I can get it working. But I know I'm kind of a freak when that's weird, because like I'll see this product and I'm like, they tell me what it does, and if they said it worked in 2016, and I'm like, huh, can I get this to work again? It's almost like the equivalent of like, you know how like a mechanic will
That's like
find,
fixing an
or
old
like
car.
a
Yeah.
yeah, you'll find a car in a barn from like the 1940s or whatever, and they've got to get it working. They I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about cars. They pour gas in the end or oil into stuff and whatever. And but I feel like that's what it is, where I've got to like download a VM and then install the version of software, or find the version of software that existed in that year, make
Find a
sure
driver that
everything's
talks.
aligned. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because like backwards compatibility only goes so far.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of pretty much like a lot of movies starting out. It's like even Bumblebee, you know, Transformer Bumblebee. It's about like, oh, let's fix up a car, you know, kind of a situation. So,
Yeah.
but you're like
Hey,
on a tech
when
side
are
of
we
it.
gonna get the first movie where it's like, hey, rather than fix up his car, let's fix up these GitHub things. Let's see how this works. Let's fix this software that's not been working for 40 years.
I'm
That'll
not
be the
sure how
day.
gonna. Yeah, maybe next Tron, because next Tron's coming out.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I that's good. That'd be a good
They
one.
got
I didn't know
a
it was
new
coming out. I
director.
loved it. Okay.
Yeah, they got a new director, and then I forgot who the casting. I don't know. I know my friends weren't really happy about it, but I didn't read into it. I just know they got a director. They announced it and everything. Especially with I guess they maybe it's gonna be on Disney Plus. They might do the same thing with Mulan. I don't know. Maybe.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Mulan stuff is fascinating. Like it's very
See,
interesting
it's
to
very
see
split. It's actually
how
very
they do
see
it.
how people split about how they think about it. Some people say, no, F that. $30 like to watch a movie at home is like no way. Because they usually renting a movie for like $5 or ten
Yeah,
bucks. Like 30 is
yeah.
ridiculous. But we are in a pandemic.
To
So in
to
yeah.
be fair, it's a complicated thing, and I don't want to. I probably shouldn't get into the whole how the movie industry works and how theaters are a lobby, and like the theater, like the theaters are willing to sue and like or just completely block movies being released if they don't do it on their
Mhm.
timelines and everything. So what I expect with this with the Disney one is that it'll start at $30, and then
Mhm.
a month or two down the road it'll drop to 15, and then
Mhm.
a month or two down the road it'll drop
Disney
to
Plus.
additional 5, and
Mhm.
then within like 6 to 8 months I bet it'll be Disney Plus.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
I I feel very divided for what people say. Some of my friends later brought up good points. It's like is I mean here's the thing. For the $30, do you own the movie or is it rent?
Yes.
I feel like that's going back and forth. It's own now,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. From what I have read, it is associated with your account on Disney Plus
So
permanently.
labyrinth.
I don't think you have. What's not clear is, do you have to have an active Disney Plus subscription to be able to watch it?
Hmm.
That's going to be an interesting one where it's like, and that's honestly where I'll get a little iffy is if they're like, you have to have an active subscription and you paid this money. I'm like, no.
That's gonna be a tricky. Then they're gonna how unless they create a system because right now the systems that you have to be
Yeah.
paying each month or like annually to
Yeah.
get Disney Plus. So unless they can make it like iTunes where you can still have the existing account without paying a live subscription, then maybe
Yeah.
yeah, that could
Yeah,
work.
honestly, we're a divided household on this. Casey is very much a theater geek.
Hmm.
Like she's self admitted she loves going to the movie theater.
Uh
Like
huh.
we used to go to the movie theater probably once a week, maybe sometimes more.
So you guys got the
Um,
movie pass when it was out.
we didn't. We had the I
What?
think the AMC version or whatever
So
it
that's
was.
later. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
And then
When Disney Plus, no, sorry, when the movie pass came out, I live in downtown. I'm literally walking distant from the Nokia
ah
Plaza, the
yeah.
right downtown. So I literally just walk there almost every other day because like it's
Mhm.
movie pass. So I'm not limited by how many a week. It's just literally one per day. So
Yeah.
when I finish working, I get tired. I'll just go there and like enjoy the AC and sit there, And if some friend texts me, say, "Hey, want to go get drink?" I mean, I'm sure we did that before too. One of the nights, like, "Hey, you want to go to GOM?" It's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
sure." I'll just leave the movie halfway through because either I already seen it or like,
Yeah.
I can come back and watch it tomorrow.
I get that. I'm not as big of a movie person.
Mm,
Partially because like I have my ADD is off the charts.
mm.
Where it's just like sitting in something and focusing on one thing is not really in my methodology. Where I'm
It
just
feels
sitting
like a
there for
waste of
3 hours.
time. Like
Yeah,
even
yeah,
at home, I would have it on a second monitor while I'm like
yes,
either playing
yeah,
games, working on photos, or something. But back then again, it was like a pay for thing, and it's like
yeah,
free at
yeah.
that point. So I'm like, I'm not gonna waste it. It's like a
I mean,
reverse gene.
there are movies we go I definitely want to see, but
Hmm.
it is like a journey for me to do that, or like it's like I like Casey absolutely would go see probably every movie that's out there. I am not as good. Someone in Detroit chat pointed out that I believe it's Tim that this means that I would use my phone in a movie theater. I will
I
not
saw
use my
that.
phone in a movie theater, but I want to.
Look,
If
so
I was watching at home, absolutely.
for that situation, if I want to spend a day, I actually just want to spend time on my phone while watching a movie.
Yeah,
When I have my movie pass, I'll just sit in the back row. So I'm not
yeah,
bothering anybody because, again,
yeah,
I don't care about the movie. I'm here for the sound while there's something going on in the background.
yeah.
Technically, it's still a movie in the background. It's just that I'm in a theater doing it.
So,
So,
what was the last movie you saw in theaters?
ooh, I don't even remember. Like, are we talking? Because like I'm trying to think how many movie I have seen after movie pass, but before pandemic. I don't
Yeah,
think there was that many. Maybe one or two, but I forgot what they were already.
okay.
But there was some movie
I,
I did catch.
I know what my last one was. My last one was Bad Boys.
Oh no, I saw that at home. I didn't even go to theater. I don't think that's a
Ah,
movie I will watch at theater.
I love. I'm a this is something that I like was like a shocker to me. Bad Boys was something like the franchise was something that I grew up with. But I also
Uh-huh.
grew up a lot on military bases, and so
Mm-hmm.
military bases, huge places for that type of movie. And Casey, I was like, I need to see this Bad Boy movie when it comes out, and she's like, why are you so obsessed with Bad Boys 3? And I'm like, it I need to know how this story goes. I need to know like how is Mike Lowry doing this? Like where has he grown as an individual? Is he still like rough and tumble and whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And she just didn't understand it, and like she has still not seen Bad Boys 2 or Bad Boys 1, but like I've probably seen those movies like dozens
Multiple
of
times.
times. Yeah, especially Bad Boys 2. That
I
was
feel like
Bad
they
Boys.
kind of Bad
Yeah,
Boys 3 was kind of stretched though. I feel like they kind of really weird,
yeah.
like it's unnecessary story. I don't know.
But the Bad Boys franchise, I
Mm.
think it doesn't get enough credit for really launching the new generation of summer blockbuster. Like
Mm.
it launched the career of like we would not have the Transformers movies, in my opinion, without the Bad Boys movies.
I think Bad Boys 2 really set.
Yeah,
I feel like that one was really much bigger than Bad Boys 1, but like, eh, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I haven't really looked into it. I don't even know Bad Boys is a series that we need to like deep dive. Like, I feel like you can write like an essay on this. Like, this is my
yeah.
thesis statement. Like, why Bad Boys has make cinematography or like the whole blockbuster summer theater
I
kind of
mean,
thing.
you've got the cinematic helicopter coming in slow motion above you, classic shot from any Michael Bay movie. It's really where he learned and like perfected things that you then see in further movies, I love those movies so much.
I see. I don't have hate for a Transformer movie because you going in, you know what to expect, and
Yeah,
the CGI
the
is
first one
really
was great.
good.
The first one was great.
Oh
The
yeah,
second one was
it get worse. Like the story just get worse and worse as you
yeah,
go along. But I really go watch it for the special effects. I'm like, if I know going in, that's what I was my expectation. I'm like, I'm not mad about it. You know.
yeah, yeah,
So we were talking about like how movies and stuff going into a subscription service kind of thing. Is gaming space doing the same thing? Like,
yeah. Definitely.
how
So
so?
this has actually been a big thing this week specifically. And this is a very big one. We're seeing more and more games move into subscription models. You've got the Stadias out there. You've got Apple Arcade.
Mhm.
I forget what the Google one is, the equivalent to that, where you get a bunch of free games if you pay like $4.99 a month or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And then you've got Nvidia with their streaming service.
Is Nvidia
And
having one?
then
I don't remember.
what?
Does Nvidia have one? I
So
thought they
they have
tried
one.
it and then it failed. I
They
forgot.
they have something right now that where allows you to play things. And then there's XCloud, which is Microsoft's thing. And the issue that's popped up really massively this week is that XCloud will not be offered right now on any Apple device, and
Mm.
Stadia will not be offered on any Apple device. Or like Facebook has their own game streaming or
Mhm.
like game subscription type service. It will not. They are going to be on Apple, but in super limited version where there's not the games involved or anything like that. So like
Hmm.
there's this underswell of people being very angry right now in the game industry at Apple, because Apple did do amazing things for the industry for many years. They
Mhm.
helped bring mobile gaming to the forefront. They helped make billion-dollar companies and like the likes of Supercell and Zynga and everything else. But they are, in a way, my opinion is that we're starting to outgrow them wanting a super curated thing, where we're no
Mhm.
longer looking for a overall platform that will curate, but a downstream system that will curate for us. So we're about to see what happens with this new generation of consoles and everything else, and with everything that's happening with games. Because as an Android user, I'm gonna go Xbox. I'm going to go Xbox Game Pass, Xbox X Cloud, and I'll be able to play new games each week, each month, whenever. I'll be able
Mhm.
to have the subscription service and be able to stream games to my phone and play Xbox games there. But
Mm.
my friends who are iPhone users, they do not get that option anymore. They do not yet,
Mm.
at least right now. And so
So
that's
who
gonna be
is the
very
person that caused? Is Apple the one that making this difficult?
yeah,
Is it or?
yeah, because Apple's thing is that by allowing these applications, they are being removed. Like Apple is being removed from the curation system. So
Mm.
is the ruling that they have used, where Apple can guarantee the quality and everything about what's in the Apple Store as
Mm.
much as
Mm.
possible. But if an app like xCloud or Stadia or whatever um, can just push new games to it all the time,
Mm.
then that is not curated by Apple, and so
Okay.
they have lost control, and so they're not a fan of that idea.
I think it's also like a family situation, right? Because like if some kids were to play games that's not family friendly, would Apple be responsible for it if they allowed that to happen?
There's some stuff there, but there was like the lawsuit back in the day where Apple had to end up paying out to parents and stuff around the world because they had allowed children to buy thousands or
Oh
hundreds of
yeah,
thousands
I remember
of
that.
currency and stuff like that.
But that's a stupid though. That's like your kids stole your credit card and go buy stuff at
Yeah,
Target. It's not Target's fault for that.
yeah, it's a little rough there, but yeah, overall though, we are going to see the proliferation of gaming streaming services, games as a service, and game subscriptions. Like right
Mhm.
now, is there a better deal in gaming than the Xbox subscription, where it's like I instead of
Mm.
paying $70 all the time or $60, I just continue to make money.
So
I mean,
is
I
it
continue
harder
to save money.
for the developer part then? Because are they making money from this?
So that's where we're gonna start seeing stuff. And start. I'm very curious what's gonna happen because I think a lot of this is being funded by they need to get a huge user base to be able to pay out.
Hmm.
But and all the game companies have to sign on to be willing to do this. It's not just like will take your game and throw it on. Like if
Hmm.
someone is tries to put one of Riot's games on one of their services, there'd
They
be
can't.
long negotiation process.
Hmm.
They'd need to talk to us. We need to work with them. Anything like that. But like what we're gonna see is like how much like is a game worth. Um, I'm a big proponent that games should be more expensive than they currently are. Like the fact that how long has a game been $60? Like it feels like
Long time.
forever. It feels
Yeah,
like
I feel like games
10
should be
years.
more expensive. I feel
Yeah,
like it should be, especially of how many hours you spend on it.
exactly. Yeah,
Like even Mulan's coming out for $30. You can watch it like let's say the movie is 3 hours max. It's not gonna
yes,
be 3 hours, but let's say 4 hours. There's no way it's gonna be 4 hours, but let's say 4 hours with bonus feature, whatever. 4 hours, and you can watch it twice. 8 hours. You
yeah,
can play games way more than 8 hours. You can do that in
exactly.
one day and do it for at least a week.
Exactly. And like I'm gonna steal from other things where it's like you're going to a movie theater for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you're paying them what like $14, like
And you don't even
or
own it.
whatever. Yeah, you don't even own it or anything like that. I end the fees that are coming out of things and the fact that like it made sense to me where the prices were previously
Hmm.
because there was not like building a game did not require like a AAA game did not require hundreds of people, if not thousands of people in some cases. But
Hmm.
we're to do game to build a massive, massive like tentpole like Fallout or Valorant or COD or any massive, massive game worldwide. You're talking about huge teams of hundreds of people who are working on it,
Hmm.
and the profit margins just keep dropping
Hmm.
on how you do that. And it's like, well, do you want to like so like people are having to make cuts elsewhere. Um,
Hmm.
and
That's where your
so I
DLC
believe yeah,
microtransactions.
deal. It is also yeah, it's also forcing um different monetization things because while gamers are and people are against the games being 70, 80, $90, they're still sinking in an extra 35, $40 in DLC costs or monetization costs. Like I don't want to speak for every game developer, but I think most game devs and industry people would be like, hey, if I can charge you a game like for $100 and you get
Hmm.
everything free for the next 2 to 3 like 2 years, like that sounds awesome. So let's do that.
But there's no incentive for a developer to give you more after you buy the game. Then, you know.
The it I would say that that's true, that there's not a huge incentive to do it after, but
Mhm.
that
Oh, sure. The incentive is
money
to
is
get more people to
free.
buy the game, so the people who
Yeah,
haven't bought it yet. Yeah.
yeah. And the preface statement, the preface thing before that is, hey, we didn't have to offset and do things in the future. We didn't have to wait to be able to do this. We could just do it all at once. You get the whole game at once.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is also it's easier to get a mass amount of user with
Yeah.
a much lower entry cost. The
Yeah.
barrier much lower.
Mm.
I mean, you work at Riot. Riot is League of Legends is one of the most well-known game in the world, top
Mhm.
3 on Twitch for almost at all time, if not top 1 for the longest time, for people streaming because it's such a amazingly built game and it's free. So entry
I
into the
don't know.
market
People
is
complain
really
a
easy.
lot about it.
I mean, that's what people do, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, it's hard to convince company not to follow that model, especially with proven how successful it is,
Yeah.
to go for a model where it's like, all right, we'll charge people more money. Hopefully, they'll like our game, and then hopefully, we'll make more money. But it doesn't really work that way.
It's true. And Tim in chat also disagrees that like a lot of this would work because of the fact that parents will have sticker shock when they see $100 or whatever, and that it's true. Like when you see these expensive things, you're gonna have sticker shock. But
Mhm.
we do someday as an industry need to come back to, if we're going to complain about monetization like MTX or DLC or anything like that, then like if you have to choose one or the other, where it's like
Mhm.
maybe companies offer this or this, um, and with Riot, like one of the things that the people I feel like ignore is that Riot is a content machine. Like
Mm.
we like the thing that honestly is most impressive overall for anything that Riot does, and I am just astounded every time we do it, is that every 2 weeks and I think it's almost every all of our games, there is new content for you. It may be
Mm.
just something small as like, hey, there's this new skin or whatever, but there is all it's a changing thing. So if you take someone who hasn't played League for, I don't know, like a month and a half, they come back and they're like, whoa, what is this new skin line? Or, oh, they completely rebalanced how this worked. Or it's a truly living system, and it grows with the ecosystem around it. So
Mhm.
it's tough there for me to talk about, because it is like, and there's not a direct cost. Like there are
Mm.
millions and millions and millions of players worldwide who never give Riot a dime, but
Mhm.
they are like, but the people who do, they're really engaged and they love what we do. We're a content machine.
I mean, I guess it's the same as me as a content creator for anything that I make, like on the internet. Everything I post on Instagram is free. Nobody paying me to post on Instagram. So I mean, I guess it makes sense for people like maybe eventually you'll get those people who's like, oh, I've been playing this game for like 3 years. I
Yeah,
haven't spent a penny. I don't mind spending a few bucks this time, kind of thing.
yeah. And I'll say that most game dev and like the philosophies around monetization in games is, it has been like, if someone plays your game longer, they're gonna monetize. The longer you have them playing, the more likely they're gonna monetize. And so people have started to build psychologically systems in that brings you back, keeps you involved. Some people do it really well. Some people do it really badly and are very predatory. Like I'm very much not a fan of like the mobile app thing where it's like, come back
So you
every
could,
day and you get a reward,
mm,
and it's like, well, I'm just gonna like, I'm not sure how effective that is, because I'm just gonna turn it on and then turn it off every day.
mm,
But that's also a lot of services. That's not just gaming. That's like the tech industry and software industry in general, where
mm,
if you can get someone to be continuously active in your ecosystem or active with your product, they will become a cheerleader. They will become more likely to pay for the higher version of it.
mm,
Like I'm going to use Netflix as an example. It's like, we, as my family has been, is a big Netflix family. We love Netflix. We do a lot of stuff with them. but
Mm.
it only has taken like Corona and everything for us to really, really get into it. And so we've done the
Mm.
upgrades, so multiple people can watch things all the time, and it's a very big thing for us.
Mm, 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 mm. So let's say a new developer is
Yeah.
coming in, maybe not even at a scale of Riot, that kind of big games. But would you suggest them to go for the route where it's free to play and then charge for either cosmetic or like some other stuff, or would you rather for them like, hey, let's make a game, make it like $50, $60, even $80? Well, that would be a AAA title, so that might be too expensive. So maybe that's about like $30, $40. Would you suggest them go for that route or the free to play route? Let's say they have.
It
So here's the thing, right? The
it
free to play,
really
you have to have
depends.
investment to go for it
Yeah,
first, right? If you don't have
yeah,
that capability, you don't have that resources, you can't go
yeah,
for that route. But let's say
yeah.
they're both possible. Would you have more preference of one over the other?
Sure. Well, let's break down what would need to happen in each one. So, if you're going to be a free to play game that is supported by monetization, like
Mm,
people monetizing a game, it's like, well, does your game system make sense for that? Does it make sense for people? And is there a reason that I'd want to make my character look better or anything like to improve the experience in the game?
mm-hmm,
No, okay, don't do that. That's probably not going to make you any money.
mm,
Is this a linear system that's going to end at the end, like where there's a core ending goal, be it the finishing the story, like I have reached level whatever, anything in that system, then that makes more sense to me as I'm a single, I pay once, where it's like
mm,
I have completed it, so therefore I've gotten my money's worth and going on.
mm, mm,
For most of the times where I see free to play make sense is things that are living games, like games as a service,
mm,
where there's more stuff happening. I'm continually doing things, very much like the League of Legends model. Like, there's a game that I've been playing for years, which is called Realm of the Mad God. And
mm,
one of the reasons I loved it is it runs on literally any device you'd ever want. And it constantly changing. It's like it's this auto generated world where it's I can play it over and over and nothing changes. Brutally hard, but
mm,
I can, if I want to not start from zero again, I can pay a few dollars or whatnot to get to that point, or I
mm,
can unlock things or make it easier for me to play the game, play to a certain point. But it's still between the paid player and the free player. When you hit a certain skill, like a certain tier of the game, there is no
mm,
difference. You can't pay to win that game. You can
mm,
pay to skip the shitty part of the game, but
the grind.
you are not going to win the game because you paid money.
Okay.
Um, and so that's kind of where I'd land. But overall, a lot of this would also go back to the like, how do you monetize, and like what are the goals of your company? Like, if you're going like, and how many people are playing, like, and
Mm-hmm,
what percentage of those are going to pay. Because if you're building single player adventures or things that are co-op or anything like that, I would probably like, unless you're trying to make money for your company or for your
mm-hmm,
business, I would go down the, hey, pay us upfront money.
mm,
If you're building something which there's like, it's evolving and constantly, and the goal is to keep people playing as long as possible and to be this generational thing, then I would recommend going more for the free to play model.
So is there a big difference between like Asian or other region, Asian, European, North America, or even other regions gamers? Then like is Asia? I feel like again, this is from personal view, especially on mobile. They're much more involved in mobile gaming, but they're also willing to pay for mobile gaming, as in like pay to win that kind of stuff, much more so than they would on in American. I don't know. What's your
Yeah,
experience in it?
that's a huge thing. So I was actually talking about this earlier today, where certain regions around the world, even for Riot's games or for other games, are have very different ways of consuming things. A very like, to not even get into Asia yet.
Mm-hmm,
Turkey is a huge region for League of Legends, for Valorant, for all of our games, and for video games worldwide. But the
mm-hmm,
thing that drives that we notice and we see constantly with Turkish players more so than anywhere else is their drive for tournaments. Like, they
mm,
are obsessed with tournaments and running competition and finding out who the best out of, I don't know, 40, 100, 200 people are.
Mm.
like in their region.
It's a very
Like
cultural thing, huh? Gaming
yeah, and
culture.
at any ranking. So like I was saying, I said this earlier today. Something like 30% of the worldwide like tournament traffic that we do, which is meaning is people running tournaments nonstop, is
Mhm.
just Turkey,
That's
and
huge.
it's
It's a huge
huge.
percentage.
Yeah. And so there, if you are a Turkish player, you can probably find a tournament starting online that probably has 20 to 30 people playing in it for League of Legends, for Valorant, for whatever, every 5 minutes. And
Jeez.
they're just non-stop playing. It's insane to me. Like there's no region that does that more. But then you have things I'll go with South Korea. South Korea is very big in the PC cafe, PC bong culture,
Hmm.
where like there's this huge thing of like where like tracking what games are the most popular in PC bongs, and it's like on the TV and it's news reports being like where's this game trending, and you can
Hmm.
actually become a hugely successful game by like just being in the top 5 there, where it'll just live because people are like, oh, it's popular, I'll download it or whatever. And it's also all these companies and PC bongs will install the software and have it ready for you to play,
Interesting.
versus it's
Uh-huh.
sometimes very hard for someone to break in to that
Mm, mm,
space.
mm, mm.
Um,
Yeah,
and
South
then
Korea is a very big space in the whole going to a PC cafe.
exactly,
We don't really have that much in America anymore. If we ever
no,
had any, yeah, it's
there's
because
a
like we're
few in
so wide.
Korea, and
Hmm.
I really enjoy going to them when I can. It would my favorite moment when I was in Korea last year was someone thinking that I would like I was at Lowell Park, which is the Riot owned PC cafe that is part of
Uh-huh.
the stadium there for the LCK. I always mix those up. Um, and when we were in there, I was there with my coworker, and they were like, and so when you're playing in Korea, there's a state ID, like your personal identifying number, which basically
Mm,
identifies who you are as a citizen and whatever for that country. And to play
mm.
games in a lot of Asian countries, you have to basically use your real name, or it has to be able to tie back
Oh,
to a real person in like your passport
is
equivalent
there a
or
reason
whatever.
for that?
Keep people being shitty, but also to like there's a lot of just like anti addiction things, and to make sure that like people like for there's a big one that is to keep people underage from playing past certain hours, or like have
Can we
limits on how
implement
much.
that in America?
I agree, we should do that immediately. I don't want to play with 13-year-olds after midnight or something. I don't know.
Especially how they're telling me that they're fucking my mom or something every single day. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
I would get
good.
him out of my COD games.
Yeah.
But like when I was sitting there at the desk, they obviously could clearly see, and I did not speak any Korean, that I did
Mhm.
not belong.
Mhm.
I was sitting there, my buddy was sitting next to me, and they're like they showed us the desk, and we already had codes because like we were at the Riot offices in Korea, and we had asked for codes so we could go play wherever. And
Mhm.
we while we were there, so they showed us to our desk, and they I think she did said something in Korean, but we did not understand. And so we just quickly logged in with the codes we were doing, and we're in a game. And she comes back like 3 minutes later, and she's like confused how we were able to log in, because they
Mm.
have like visitor things where it's like you're coming from elsewhere, you have to
Wait,
fill something
so
out.
where's the login part? Is it on the computer system itself or on the game or like where's this login?
It can be both. It can be both. I think more commonly it's on the when you register your account for that region, it has to be you have to have provided that information. Once you've registered the account, then it's fine. Then you
So
don't.
let's say League of Legends Korea
Yeah.
region. Like, do you have to register it differently than you would do in NA
Yes.
or?
Yes. You would have to provide, like when you're registering an account there, you have to provide your government issued ID number or whatever it is
Oh, I did
there.
not know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
so we were sitting there, and she comes back and she's like, "Wait, how did you guys log in?" or whatever. And we play. My coworker David is very good at League. I am very bad at League. He ended up going like I think he was like 18-2 and something. Like he was having a dominant game, and the and I was not having it. I was like 2-12. I was awful, and I was playing support, so it was even worse.
Uh-huh.
And she and like a few other people come back over, and the manager and of the place are they ask LCS players, and I was like, and then they look at my screen, they're like, no, LCS players, and my coworker, and I was like, wow, yeah, I'm not an LCS player.
Judgy much, but you're right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you caused a scene then.
Yeah. Well, because honestly, the reason why you normally see in that, especially in that place, people who already have the ID codes and they don't have to log in or have help is because Riot is working with a pro team or something like that that's coming into play.
Gotcha. And so is there I know in China there was, because I went to a restaurant, or I was waiting for a restaurant, but I see it on a sign. I can send it to you later. The two, it's I forgot which game. I don't think it's League, but there's a social currency tied to being good at video games in other countries. Like in Asia, in China, for example, you're very good at one game. This place I went to, they say depends what tier you are, diamond, plat, whatever, you get discounts or free drinks or free snack, whatever.
Yeah. So I went to a place in Korea that was it was if you were challenger, you ate free. And they had pictures of all the challenger, and they took your picture and put it on the wall. And all the pro players, when they come to Worlds there, where they'd be able to eat free or whatever, or maybe it was deep discount. And
still good because you attract other people come to see. Oh my god, there's a LCS player here,
Yeah, and so that there's various tiers, I think, where you got discounts on stuff, which was cool. It's cool to see. And there was a boba place that I saw, and it was I forget what mobile game, but it was if you were in this top rank thing, and the restaurant had a character in game, and if you friended them, or if you sent them something, they take 10% off your bill. And I was like, that's awesome. I it was the equivalent of being in WoW, being hey, I'll give you an item in game, and you give me 10% off my Fogo or something.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you think that would happen in America, or is our culture will never have that gaming? But with the pandemic, going on, sport is not as big as it used to be. I mean, good thing that NFL, I saw them making a bunch of dad jokes where the whole stadium have no crowd at all, but they're oh, look at our fans, or no popcorn throwing, but there's no one anyway. But are we shifting more to whole esport world, a little bit more, getting more popular with that? What are we looking at?
I believe that we're seeing a pretty I believe COVID. We were already on the way to esports being pretty dominant in the North American and international market about what content is and what people consume. I think that COVID has rapidly moved timelines up, where maybe 2025 it was 10, 20, 30% of the US population at least has watched one esports match in the last month. We moved that to 2023, or maybe it's still farther away than that. So I think it's done great inroads, and we've seen great viewership. The real question that I have, and I think many people have, is does it stay? Does it stick? If the NFL is on and it's Sunday Night Football and it's going up against the FaZe Valorant Showdown with TSM versus Sentinels, and it has TSM versus Team Liquid in the LCS, and it has something else. Which one do you tune into? I'm a big Valorant fan, I'm a big League of Legends fan, and I'm already torn between those. But if say my hometown Atlanta Falcons were playing, and Casey's a big Patriots fan, but she's also a big LCS and a big Valorant fan, it's which one do we watch? Do we watch all three at the same time? Or do we pick one that we really, really enjoy?
You need a sport bar situation with 6 TV going on, but still you just can't focus on all 6 at once. Yeah.
Buffalo Wild Wings and LCS.
But that's how do you? I'm not sure how is that gonna go, because here's the thing. I feel like the good thing about esports versus traditional sports is that the entrance should be pretty easy. The only difference is that you play sports in school. You don't play WoW, you don't play League in school, but you do play basketball, soccer, or whatever you play in school. So that's where you get more exposure to it. So that's one of the huge difference. But for anyone to jump on League of Legends pretty fast. It's free to play. You're at home. You click download. You install. You can get it done in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
and we've actually had huge inroads into in not just Riot but all games into how do we get kids into gaming earlier, and why, like, how do we make it almost an alternative? Instead of playing football, you play esports in high school, middle school, etc. There's some great organizations out there, Play Versus, EGF, and other things worldwide, where they are able to grow. And if you're a high school or college kid, or even middle school in some cases, you can play in COD tournaments, in Valorant tournaments, or in leagues as well. So you can start doing those, because like one of the things that with traditional sports you really get the really we haven't really seen yet is you get to learn this team environment where it's like you're practicing. So you have to show up to practice. You work on individual skills you're trying to improve the entire time, and then eventually, where like you take those skills and put them into action while working in concert with football with 10 other people. And it's like everybody has their job and they need to do their job. And we need to, and we're getting to the point where we can learn those skills through esports rather than just having to be traditional sports.
Is it the hardest part is convincing parents? Because I feel like kids are not that against playing video games.
Yeah, where we are, it's a generational thing. Like that's part of this is like we are looking at a long thing. Like esports isn't going to take over overnight. Like we're still in the early stages of what the esports industry look like, what the gaming industry looks like. Like I honestly would not be surprised that 20, 30 years from now, gaming is the predominant media form in the entire planet. I would not be surprised in 20 years if an esport game or a combination of all esports games make up more than 50% of viewing habits worldwide.
Is there something is there a way to make esport more entertaining to watch? Because like for any other traditional sports, you really see a ball moving left and right. And I know you see a lot of things going on flashy on the screen too when you watch video games. But the player themselves, they look very stoic. They just click their keyboard and mouse. Is there something we need to change there to make it more entertaining? Or like, what is easier for people to want to watch it more?
So I think that viewing experiences need to change and need to be evolved. And some of the stuff is already happening where it's more interactivity with the like what's going on in the game, or interactivity with the viewership experience where it's like a collective thing. One thing that gaming has and viewing esports that I don't believe traditional sports have is things like Twitch chat or watch parties over Discord or things like that, where it's like I can watch a game with 40 people that are all across the world and do things. Traditional sports are locked down because of things like rights deals and various other things, where it's like I might be watching it, but it might be blacked out in my city. So that some of those things are not as possible. But the overall, how do I make it more enjoyable to watch? I think that we can learn a lot of lessons from like the fighting game community. They've done an excellent job with like people like, and not every player like this. And there's players in League and there's players in other games where they pop off. Like you wait for that. Like I styled on you, I beat you, it's ended, and they pop off and they get in each other's faces, being like, I did it. I'm better than you. Like, come at me. We actually had a moment. I don't know if you saw after the FaZe tournament, which was Valorant tournament, which was TSM versus the Sentinels. There was an interview about 5 minutes after the game ended. It was one of the best games we've seen in professional Valorant. They interviewed the TSM player, and the TSM player said, "I really don't like the other team." Like I specifically called out one player on the other team, being like, he. It was like real animosity, and I was like, I'm in. I was already into this rivalry, but now I'm in because it's actually like they don't like each other. Tell me more. Yeah,
I think a lot of teams need more PR training.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like showmanship or like whatever. It's like, because for example, like 2 years ago, I was watching Overwatch, right? And I'm watching it live, so it's already as exciting, as fancy as it can be. I was watching at BlizzCon, watching the Overwatch tournament, and then you can see I'm already getting hyped up by the crowd, but it still doesn't give me as much hype I feel like I'm watching somewhere else, like as other traditional sports, especially in the post interview.
Mm,
Especially a lot of the Asian players too.
yes.
They always answer in a very short form and not really expressive. We're different
Yeah.
than American. I think it's a very cultural thing. But like for example, they will win the game and it's like, what do you think about the game? They're like, good.
We won.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And like, can you tell me more? Like, I feel so bad because the person that was asking them the question, the host, was one of my friends. Is one of my friends, and we went to college together actually. So
Mhm.
it's great to see how our world kind of interlap after
Yeah.
after everything happened. But it's just like, wow, cool. It's like, but I feel bad for her because they're not giving her any answer that was good for the show.
Yeah, and I think that in general the gaming industry as a whole needs more PR firms and more people working in PR.
Mm,
Like specifically working with teams and organizations. Like um, a lot of people like but you have to back it up. Where it's like you need to if you want to talk shit, back it up.
mm-hmm,
You like, and that's part of the reason I think a lot of people hold back is because you don't like it can change every day. We're not in an industry where someone is so supernaturally like physically gifted that
mm-hmm.
they can just 1v5 someone.
Dominate, yeah. Mm-hmm,
Like it's the games are designed to prevent that a lot.
mm-hmm,
So you could lose every time, every other day. Like in
mm-hmm,
football, it's like the every given Sunday. It's the same thing, I believe, in esports, where hey,
mm-hmm,
you could have a bad day, your equipment might fail, something might fail, and so a lot of people are not willing to put their pride on the line and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
But like, I have a massive respect for those who do and who are willing to give the talk to people, like the TSM players calling out the other team or talking about these things. Those things really drive eyeballs, in my opinion, and get people involved. Like,
I
I
feel
don't
like it
think,
should be more like a beer pong kind of situation. Yes, like yeah, you talk shit about other, but we don't take it too seriously. But at
yeah,
least it kind of get the
yeah.
environments kind of
And I
going.
think the LCS has gotten to that point where like we got some people out there who are doing things and like hyping each other up and being involved. Like I love the golden glue memes or the Tanner times and
Hmm.
like Double Lift's got his like everybody else's trash and various things like that. Like even like I forget, was it Honda did a commercial with him and it's like he actually
Mm.
like had a trash can and threw everybody away and it's like
Hmm.
I love those things. And I'd say League of Legends esports, at least in North America, it would not be as large as it is without
Hmm.
like the actual rivalry where they didn't like each other between
Hmm.
CLG and TSM back in the day. Like
Hmm.
that was real. Like they didn't like each other.
Hmm.
And the
And you have fans
controversy,
on each side, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And one thing that we're dealing with in the esport industry as a whole, and just like as it grows, is are you a fan of a team or are you a fan of a player?
So here's the
And
thing, right? That's my problem with sports all the time too.
yeah,
I feel like Overwatch did a smart thing where they make it very regional based. I mean,
mm,
of course, like League still have kind of regional based, but it's more country or like even continents based. But I feel like in Overwatch, what they did smart was that they pick up from traditional sports where it's like, oh, I might not care about SF Shock as a team Overwatch, but I care about San Francisco because I either lived there or I was from there. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna root for my team regardless because I care for them or not.
yeah.
So team
No,
pride I seem like very important.
I get that a lot, and that's something that I think teams need to do a lot better job of. Is like, how do you build your brand? How do you build your fandom around
Hmm.
that? Like, I think 100 Thieves has done a great job with that. I think TSM's done that great job with it. Recently, FlyQuest has done a great job with that.
Mm. Hmm.
Liquid does a great job with that. Where you're a fan of those teams. Like Liquid even announced, I believe today, it's something called Liquid Plus, which is basically a rewards program where you get to earn stuff for being a fan of Team Liquid. And I'm like, that type of
Mm.
stuff is
Smart.
incredible, and I want more of that. Where it's
Yes.
like you're invested in the brand of Team Liquid, not the individual players. And I think that's honestly a thing that will have to eventually happen. Where it's like, sure, I'm a big player A fan, and when they move around teams, I support those teams because I support them. But moving to a model where it's like, I don't care who's on the team, I'm a supporting that team.
But how
And
can you
that's a
trust a
big
team to make the good decision that like because again players change, coach change, management change.
yeah.
How do you make people loyal to a team that has so easy changes where the people who are mainly are the people affecting the games?
It comes from winning, is my opinion, and I think that's something that's missed a lot. Is like being winning in a culture that aligns with you, where it's like it's have you've heard of like the Ninja Turtle thing, where it's like the Ninja Turtles you pick was the one that represents you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where it's like it's the four it's the four, I think it's the four ids or four whatever, where that I forget who it was. It was a
You
ancient philosopher put
self-associate
together.
with it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like these various things. And so you'll see that with esports teams where certain ones are going certain cultures and certain ones are going different cultures, and you're starting to see people align themselves with those cultures. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and players and being a fan of a player can be an excellent entry point into being a fan of that team.
Mm.
But the end goal for the teams while they're elevating those players is it is the brand. It's the
Mm.
shield. Like
Gotcha.
in soccer, it's a big thing where it's like you play for the shield. And so
Mm-hmm.
like celebrations a lot of the time are them taking the shield and kissing it or whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
pointing to it after they do a big thing. It's like, I do it for this. This is what's
Mm.
most important, not me.
Okay.
And we haven't
So,
gotten to that point in gaming. And I'm curious when we do. I think that's very, very powerful. But I also know, even in my own household with Casey and a lot of people who change their fandoms based on or don't have as much fandom for an organization because a player left. Like I know
mm-hmm.
Casey got into League of Legends because she was like friends with some players or saw individual players play and were like, hey, that I like their personality. And when they left those teams or retired, she didn't have a loyalty to any team anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and and the whole like teams make mistakes and whatever you like. There's actually quite a bit of research that's been done that engagement for like professional sports teams does even better when the team is not doing good, where
Mm-hmm.
people want to get in on that ground floor. And like, sure, if you just won a championship, there's even better engagement, but people
Of
are
course.
really involved at that low level because they want to see you, because they think that there's a possibility of being this massive team.
An underdog kind of feel.
Yeah, but like you have to actually have the ability to possibly execute on that. Like you're not
Mm.
going to get that underdog feeling with a team
That's
that like
obviously not performing at
nothing's
all.
going wrong, nothing's
Mm-hmm.
going right. But like to really go into soccer, Leicester City is a soccer team in
Mm.
the Premier League in Europe. They a few years ago they had never even sniffed a championship, and they were not on paper anywhere near where they're in like talent level, nothing.
Nobody
But
cares.
they ran off a record like lucky goals, amazing wonder goals, everything, just didn't lose games. And
Mm.
I believe it was a 2,000 to 1 shot for them to win the league, and they
Mm.
won it. And some people made a lot of money on that. But it was like they like 20 years straight they would have not been able to do that. 30 years straight, 100 years, like nobody would have ever
Uh-huh.
predicted them doing that. And so that it was still possible, and people are still willing to bet that it was. And
Uh-huh.
one thing I really want to see people do and teams do is, how do I associate the success of a team or the team's
Mm-hmm.
brand with myself?
More team pride.
Where yeah, like how do we get like the Nike Adidas thing where it's like checks over stripes or stripes
Mm.
over checks? Or like a personal thing that I hate is if you're wearing Adidas and you mix it with Nike, or if you're wearing Nike and you mix it with Adidas. Like
Uh-huh.
I call out friends all the time who are wearing like Adidas shirts but Nike shoes, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, and like I see people in the esports industry being like wearing a Cloud9 shirt and TSM like joggers, and I'm
Short.
like,
Uh-huh.
what? No, you got to be loyal to your team.
You can pick one or the other, but you cannot
Exactly.
have both.
Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
care have you
yeah.
either one.
Yeah, and sure, if you want a second team, pick something international or pick
Mm.
something in a different league. Yeah,
So as you said, like for example, FlyQuest doing good points. Like they're having like an idea what their team is about, or like what is
yeah,
the direction they're going, what is their like kind of like statements of their
yeah.
team. So I feel like more team has to be better that than just another team that has a name and that's it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, like with FlyQuest, I know what they're about now. I know what their culture, I know what they're
Stand
talking
for.
about, what they
Hmm.
stand for, like what what their wins go to. Like there's an extra strength for me for to understanding anything that happens in their games because I know it means more money for conservation. And I'm like, that's
Hmm.
cool. Like I
Yeah.
want to see, are they going to have to donate more trees, or are they going to have to donate more money to fisheries and stuff like that?
Mm-mm. So earlier we were talking about like people being fun, not toxic, but like a fun kind of banter kind of system, right? However, my question now is like, that's because I experience this a lot when I play video games, and I suck at it. And it's not just League, but League, of course, is one of the main one that I play.
Mm.
Um, People are being toxic, but as a game, as a company, is it ideal for them to have harsh punishments on players who are toxic, or is not thing they should care about? Because let's say they are toxic, and then you either give them a 5 minutes ban, 10 minute, 10 day, 5 days, whatever the punishment is. If it's too much, then they might not play the game at all, and they might hate it, and you're gonna lose the player base, user
Mm.
acquisition. But if you don't ban them, you're gonna leave people who have a sour taste in playing that video game. Where is that balance, and how should company take care of that?
So this is a tough one, and honestly, I'm probably not the best person to talk about this, but I personally like a bit of trash talk. Like I like
Hmm.
a bit of like,
Good
hey,
banter.
I'm gonna beat you, or GGEZ. Like I don't mind the GGEZs or whatever,
Hmm.
or like BMing a bit, or like, and we've added features into the game where you can flash emotes, and like if I get a
Hmm.
big play and you miss like an engage on me, I am absolutely flashing the bee crying emote, being like, "Oh no, you missed," um, but or like outplayed or anything like that. But it does like it. There's a line, and I don't think it's clear what that line is for everybody.
Hmm.
Where and I think some of this goes back to a lot of anonymity, where it's like, hey, I don't know what that person is on the other side.
Hmm.
That's a big issue, like a thing about that. Like, I'll say that like with uh, so Clash is a tournament system, or any of the tournament systems that you can play for League of Legends. If you're playing in a tournament with some other
Hmm.
people, you are going to see less toxicity than anywhere else, because when I'm playing solo queue, I'm most of the time being placed with four people that I don't know and I have no
Against five people
relationship
you don't
to.
know.
Yeah, against five people I don't know or don't care about.
Hmm.
And it's like if anything bad happens, it's just like, oh yeah, I went down or whatever. And there's no there's not a lot of people who are like, I let the team down. It's like, no, I let myself down, or I
There's
got
no
mad
lingering
because
effects. You might never
yeah,
see them again.
yeah. And so it's a lack of like understanding you're fighting as a team, or like you
Hmm.
are a team. So but we see this with like things like tournaments or Clash, where much less levels of toxicity because you are with a group of five of your friends,
Hmm.
or people, or at least people you know. And it's like, if you're toxic, you're not playing in this tournament anymore, or
Hmm.
you don't have a 5-man crew to play in tournaments, and you don't want to be super toxic to, I don't know, Joe from down the street, or or Sally, who is your awesome top laner. She's gonna be like, nah, I'm gonna go play with this other team because you're
Hmm.
toxic. And so we see much less, because it is, you're building this team, and it is, you're actually playing as a team there.
Hmm.
Um, and so those are the things that I think people and teams and companies out there need to start doing, is like, how do we refactor people's psychology from being like, it's me versus it's a team and I need to work together. And if the team fails, it's all of us, not just that person who like went 0 and 10.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I feel like that's the problem with a lot of games, right? Because it is, even Fortnite, I'm sure people see a lot. Fortnite is easier because it is you against the world, unless you play 3-man team. But
Yeah.
but the rest is easier. But yeah, it's kind of hard. First of all, it's deciding what is considered actually bad toxic,
Yeah.
and also it's hard for company to decide like, should we remove that? Should we keep it? Because if you
I
do it too harshly, it's gonna be tough too.
Yeah, I've actually I've had an amazing experience playing a bunch of COD Warzone,
Mm.
because like some days I am very good at the game, some days I'm very bad at the game, but when I win a game with a squad, it is all of us did something.
Feels good.
And so it is all of our works together. And even like there are people have posted screenshots of playing with me where I had 0 kills, 0 downs, basically 0 damage, but we still won. But like in those games, I made sure that everybody had ammo, or I was the bait, and it would like the positioning would not have worked without me being there. And it's like we win as a team. Like we don't see players in esports being like, oh no, I went 0-4 when my team won. It's like I went 0-4, but we won. So the win's what matters.
Do you think like players, especially pro players, having a good relationship outside the gaming, like it is a very important part of being a good team?
Yes.
Especially like people might. I know there's already like starting doing more documentation of how people are like outside the game. Is it better treated just as a work, or is it hard to struggle between it's work versus
Yeah.
life, or it's better to make it a life as work? Like where is that? What's your view on that?
I I think that teams need to do a much better job about building camaraderie. Like you don't have to. Like there are organizations out there that can absolutely work where it's like I show up, this is work, let's finish work, and I go home. But I
Mhm.
think that especially if you are a younger team or a team that's going in there, it is definitely a model where you need someone to make this a family and to build things that are going to keep you together. And this is something you see a lot of startups where like you're
Mhm.
grinding, you're working hard, you work hard, you play hard, and you play together because it's like the people who are there for you are the people you're working with, and the people
Mhm.
who like you have their back, I have your back, and that trust is there. Um, so honestly, I'd love to see more people in the industry doing things other than just like going out and drinking or partying or whatever. I think that there's definitely things out there where it's like there's actually a great amount of people in the gaming space who do rock climbing.
So
Golf is
rock
something
climbing,
that's taken off.
team
Tennis
building
has been
stuff.
a thing. Yeah, all these team building things I think should be done pretty regularly, and it'll help. Like, and we're also getting to a world where uh players are not judged as much by their individual performance, but what the team's performance is. Where
Mm.
like there were early days, and there still is on some teams where this person is consistently going like not doing amazing, but the team is winning. So
Mm.
why? And they're like, well, if we replace him, it'll be different. It's like, no, you're winning because all the attention is to stop them from being very good. And it's like keep working with that or something like that. But like there's
Mhm.
things out there that are different there. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see there. I do think that camaraderie is something that the industry struggles with in general,
Mhm.
because it is disconnected being on the internet sometimes. Like
Yeah, and
how?
it go back to also what you said about team pride.
Yeah,
Having pride that will also build people's like, oh, I can associate with those pro player because they're like a
yeah.
family, and I want to be part of that family as well.
And I will say a lot of League of Legends teams and a lot of pro teams do this very well, where after the LCS or after Pro League or anything like that, they go and do a team dinner afterwards.
I always do that regardless.
Yeah, win or lose. But
Yeah.
but like doing that type of stuff and learning those lessons is huge. Um, a lot of people this week actually were really upset that Activision Blizzard hired the former deputy commissioner of Major League Baseball to come lead their esports initiatives and some other things in addition. Like I think people forgot about the other stuff, honestly. But and they're like another case of bringing someone who's not in the industry into the industry, and I'm like, I understand that where it's like let's hire and promote from the esports industry. But I
Mhm.
also believe that there's a lot of stuff we can learn from traditional sports. Not like how do we run sports, how do we do these things. I think that's not the model, but I mean, how do we create an identity
Mm.
where a fan identifies with this league and they're a fan of that league and that league alone, or they're a fan of that team and that team alone, or how do we like bring in agents from traditional sports where it's like, hey, you're doing what with this? Let's work on our agent. Let's work with an agent who's still done things with other companies and games or other sports over the years. Or how can we bring in relationships and systems and like team building exercises that have happened over here. In basketball, Greg Popovich is famous for if you are eating at the same if one of his players ends up eating at the same restaurant Greg Popovich is at, you are not paying for your meal. Greg Popovich is doing this. And it's become such a thing that like the players would like bribe the valets or whatever around town to tell them where Greg was so that they'd show up and eat there. And it was another thing that like I'm sure Greg's like, oh, I'm paying this money, but at the same time, back in his head, he's like, they're scheming together, and that's building stuff. And stuff like that. Like I want like where are the prank wars? Like in traditional sports and like in baseball, there's these great pranks with the rookies and stuff, and we don't really see that stuff. And it's a lot of good fun. Like my favorite, like one of my favorite baseball like images is one of my favorite players when he was a rookie. The vets were messing with him, and they put gum on the bottom of those like Gatorade cups and put it on top of his helmet, and it stuck. And he walked around the dugout for a good 20 minutes, and people were dying. And then people started stacking more and more cups because he couldn't feel it. And it was an amazing thing. And it was like, and then when he found out, he's like, all bashful. But they bonded over that, and they keep that up. It's not hazing. It's not anything demeaning. It is, hey, you're one of us. Like we're ribbing you.
We definitely need more of that. You also did mention about like how startups need more of this, and of course I don't want to keep for too long, but we were talking about this before the show. Is that speaking of startup, right before this stream too, like our Modern Wong chat, I was playing Fall Guys. They were technically a startup, right? I didn't look very into them. They have like one other game, and I don't know how big they are. They did get picked up by Devolver, but how did Fall Guys become such a big game in such a short period of time, and is it gonna last?
Will it last? That's a tough one. So I can start with the beginning. They nailed a concept. They looked at the industry and were looking. So I don't know if you're very active on Twitch there, or even remotely active on Twitch, or even if you're a child. There's this thing called Marble Run, which is basically you take a marble, you put it at the top of this course, you take like 100 marbles, you put it at the top of the course, and you see which one gets down to the end. On Twitch and other places, you can name each marble, or like results are on those. And what a lot of the streamers do and people on Twitch do is they let their viewers name a marble after themselves, and then a viewer wins if they're the first one down to the end.
I got a few rate from that.
But there's not a lot of player agency. There's not much that as a player in that I can control. They were able to identify that and then there's the things like I want to do things online. I want to be involved with a large group of people, battle royale stuff, or just like competitive gaming. And they were able to basically marry those two concepts, where it's like I am basically doing Marble Run plus some Mario Party or Wario mini games as a competitive thing. So it scratches this itch for a lot of people, where it's like I'm against everybody else, but it's also like, oh, I'm not good at this one thing, but I'm good at these other things. And it's like it's this great way of keeping going around like this thing. Will it continue? I actually have pretty high hopes for them. I don't think we're going to see front page of Reddit or front page of Twitch forever. Like I don't think we're going to see hundreds of thousands of people watching it on a daily basis. But do I think that they'll probably end up around like as one of the top 10, top 20 games on Twitch for the foreseeable future? Yes. I am very excited. They've announced some of their plans where they're going to do like custom lobbies where you can do 60 of your closest friends or viewers or whatever, and all go against each other. I want them to add DLC or just keep the monetization systems they have, and add new games into it, where it's like I want new maps, and then I would love to see a level creator where I can build out my own.
That's gonna be hard, but yeah.
But like I'd love to see that stuff. I think that they were a little bit caught off guard. Like the success,
definitely the server couldn't handle it, but like I do not blame them. So anytime there's something wrong with the server or like things going wrong, it's like they're just they didn't expect this to happen.
as being in the industry, I have so much patience for anything going down. I feel so bad. I'm like, oh no, I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, like for example, we discovered that our team at work's game hours. So we spend like an hour, like once or twice a week, playing games with each other for team building.
Mm-hmm.
And we discovered that one of the hours was scheduled during the like halfway through it was the server switch or update for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt so we were like we were complaining. It was like, oh, we can't play this game because it keeps going down. And it's like, let's just move our time slot for when we do our game time. Like
Yeah.
if this was us, we would feel bad if someone was making fun of us or being complaining about it as well. But no, I think they have a very bright future. They're doing some great stuff with partnerships where they're
Have you seen
like
their Twitter?
soliciting. Yeah, their Twitter is excellent. They're soliciting
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stuff from other people to be able to build content in it, and I hope it seems like they have preliminary partnerships with like a bunch of different things like The Witcher, CD Projekt Red, KFC Gaming, all different things like that. What I am excited and hopeful to see is that those actually happen, and
Mm-hmm.
those continue, and that does get released. Um, uh, I believe that Fall Guys should not rapidly expand or rapidly hire. They should take their time and figure out what they have before they
Mm-hmm.
do it more. They probably have plans. They probably have like pie in the sky. If this is the best game ever, this is what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But like they probably have ideas of where they want to go, and I'm excited for them. I wish them like right now. I assume that it's a lot of make sure everything is continuing to stay online,
Mm-hmm.
and that's incredibly important. Um, uh, but I think they have a generational success opportunity here where they could turn this into something that everybody has on their computer for the next 10 years, like a Jackbox style thing
And the
where
crazy thing is that, like, compared to many games, it's not like a game that require a lot of graphics or like crazy
well,
mechanism. It's
still,
yeah. And I feel like a lot of game developers, like I spent, years making a game with all this complex system with, roguelike kind of environments or a procedural generated map and still like no one pick up. But this is just a very
yeah.
simple, silly,
I
fun game.
I love it because it is something that I can play with people who are not traditional gamers or like anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like Casey and I enjoy very very different type of games. But we're both good at like there's not really being bad at Fall Guys. It's just being unlucky or not pressing the button or not having awareness. Like
Mm-hmm.
so I love the game because it's there's very rare games that I can play with certain people because it's like we have very different things. Like playing a shooter and like I'm
Valorant.
and, like playing Valorant with Martin,
Mm-hmm.
I get tilted because I'm just like, why are you looking at the floor?
Yep.
But if I'm playing League with him, he's like, Gene, why are you walking into a wall?
Mm.
Um,
But it's
but
a good
yeah,
and also fast turnaround too. Like if if it's a bad game, cool, no worries. We're done
yeah.
in 5 minutes. We're gonna try another one.
Yeah, I foresee a future where they are a live service game where there's more maps coming out, there's more packs, maybe every quarter, or even every month. There's at least one game added to the system,
You think they'll
and
do mobile?
I'd be shocked if they don't. The game is built on Unity, so
Mm,
it should be a pretty quick
port.
system for them to port it over.
Yeah.
Depending how they built it, like to be fair, there are Unity games that were built very customized and like they ripped it apart to be able to do various things. So it would make it
Hmm.
hard for them to do much. But I think it's probably simplistic. I would not be surprised if Unity is throwing money at them, being like, bring it to mobile, show off the Unity engine. You're our
Even if they build from scratch, it's not
yeah,
that difficult of a game to
yeah,
build. So
yeah,
yeah, good for them. Good for them. Oh,
yeah.
anyway, this has been great. I know I always love to pick your brain on random stuff as well. Anything you want to add before I send you away?
Um, everybody should build things. Don't be afraid to build stuff in life. Don't be afraid to build and to work on stuff. I think that a
What's your
lot of
passion
people
other than working at Riot right now? What
they'll
is
like
your
my passion is experimentation. Is taking advantage
GitHub.
of like things that are out there and trying to work on them.
Mm,
I am a huge proponent of like break things, see what
mm,
or breaking and fixing things, and I think that a lot of people, Corona has helped, like has caused us a little bit more, where people are kind of not getting out and doing a lot of stuff, or not experimenting or changing things,
mm,
because they're kind of stuck inside. But I think that's the perfect time to do stuff where
mm,
it's like, hey, I want to build a company. Well, let's go watch some pitch contests. Let's go watch some YouTube. Let's like listen to podcasts. Let's do all this stuff. Or I want to get in better shape. It's like go running, or work out at home, or resistance bands, or anything like that.
I think
Or
I'm in the best shape ever since
yeah,
coronavirus because I
yeah,
just stuck
we
home and tried
and
out.
it's like all this constant break, fix, improve is kind of my mentality,
Mm,
on a lot of stuff, and that's work and outside, where it's like we'll have systems in place at work where it's like it's been working for 5 years, and I'm like, cool, let's break it and see how we can make it better. Or like if or honestly, because a lot of times systems like, and you'll get this as an engineer, like
mm,
you'll build things and then people have built things on top of that you have no idea that they're built on top of that framework you built. So
mm,
there is occasionally like where I'm like working on open source things, or things I've open sourced, or even internal things where I'll be like, let's turn this off and see what else breaks around it. And it's
mm,
like it's almost like that old school tracing the wire that hooked up between two different things, being like, what does this wire actually do?
uh-huh.
Um, and that you can improve and learn so many different things.
Can make something more efficient too. Maybe there's like
Exactly.
you realize I don't need this at all, or I can replace it with an automatic
Exactly.
system. Yeah.
Refactor your code, refactor yourself,
No, we can. Yeah, exactly. You can do like real
refactor your friend.
recoding of yourself. Yeah. I mean, I'm working on that, but it's hard during coronavirus. I'm working on it though, but it's
Yeah,
good because you can have excuses and reason for not working with some people, but do work with
yeah,
some other people and
yeah.
improve on that. Like that's a
Like
one silver lining.
a big thing I started to learn during coronavirus, is doing more video content like this.
Mhm.
I invested in a mic, some lighting. I set up like a backdrop type
What is
thing.
that behind you, by the way?
Oh,
That
this is a t-shirt blanket, that's hooked up to a curtain rod.
mm,
This is t-shirts from events that I either ran or won their hackathons at over the years.
mm,
And it was just like a nice little buffer, something to hang, something that nice, and I'm a big fan of it. But like learning new skills, where it's like I still don't understand lighting. As you can probably see, half my face is probably very dark, half is doing whatever.
it's
I'm learning
fine.
these
It's
things, but
great.
and like now we're doing I'm doing a show for Riot every 2 weeks where we're doing developer happy hour, not happy hour. That's a good idea. I'll steal that.
It can be.
Developer office hours, where we're answering questions from developers. We're
Mhm.
talking about our philosophy around development. How do we build things? And it's been one of those things where I'm getting out of my comfort zone, because like I don't ever foresee myself being a full time Twitch streamer or anything like that. But
Mm.
understanding how content creation works and what like the process and everything else involved has given me a new taste of like what is possible and where I can go as channels, like social channels, to talk to people I need to talk to, and to work with people, and to expand my purview of what I do.
Do you build relationship with developer the same way that gaming company build community with their fans or with their gamers and stuff like that? Because for example, League of Legends, Riot, Blizzard, a lot of big gaming company do a very good job in community building. I haven't heard it about on the developer side. Is that something that you feel like
It,
companies should work on as well?
I definitely. I think more companies should have gaming companies specifically should have APIs and dev communities. I think that they are a massive force multiplier that game companies do not acknowledge enough. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that Riot is where it is, and League of Legends is a successful game as it is, without people being able to look up their stats, being engaged, developing things, and working around it. Um, we value that ecosystem incredibly, and I think that like Blizzard, like I've talked to a bunch of people over at the WoW team in the past, where they were not huge fans of the fact, especially the game designers, about how much people built around it and basically solved the game.
Like the
Um,
plugin and stuff. Oh yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, I don't know if the game is as successful without those tools. And so it's
Mm.
like one of those chicken and the egg things. It's like I like sure it told me how to like this add-on tells me how to complete this quest, but I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if I'm comfortable or like I never got into EverQuest, but I got into WoW because it was more accessible. And
Mm-hmm.
that balancing is hard. And we work on that a lot too, where we have a lot of developers and companies who are like, I want to build something for lore, TFT, Valorant, League, etc. And we're like, we're not comfortable about that on the game design side because that removes the player's agency and choice. So we
Mm-hmm.
avoid those types of things, and we work with companies. But like how it works generally is like we have this very large ecosystem where there's like we work with individual developers, we work with groups of developers, we work with people who are pitching us things they want to build or and are being represented by VCs. We have startups who are already like founded and they're like, yes, we want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then we work with all scale of things.
Wait, sorry. Then I have a question. I'm sorry, I'm still
Yeah.
keeping you. But if they come up with a good like software or add-on plugin, whatever, and then I guess they have to go to Riot to ask them if they can build it, and then do Riot like approve it, but then do what about the funding? Like, what does Riot play involve, or any gaming company, of course, in general? How does
Yeah.
that work?
So this it's different per company. For us, it's we basically operate as an almost like a marketplace around Riot, where people can build whatever they want as long
Hmm.
as it follows certain policies, like do not change
No
player
cheating.
behavior, do not cheat, do not whatever. And we're more of a hammer than like any than a glove a lot of the time, where it's
Mm.
like, hey, we're going to come down and stop people from doing things that are being bad for players. But
Mm-hmm.
really, the process is, hey, I have this idea and to do this idea, I need data from Riot to do it. So I need to know match history. I need to know these various things. And so they'll apply to us or to any game company. This is also how they work. They'd apply and be like, this is my use case. This is what I want to do. And
Mm.
then we would take a look at it and be like, yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds awesome. Or it's like I want to experiment or anything. It's like, yeah, here's limited access. And then
Mm.
it's gated at that point by how much like we can provide more and more API traffic, more access, more help, more services based on like how good the idea is. Is it helping people? Is it valuable? And our own perspectives on that.
Mm-mm. I think the last thing that I kind of want to see, and then maybe you guys already been doing it, is that more stats information, like public to show, like, oh, how many players are playing each year of league, or like, how we increasing players, or regional, that kind of thing. It's always
Yeah,
very fascinating for me.
I've always been a proponent that we should talk more about our successes and shout from the top of the the buildings that like, hey, we're doing this well. But at the same time, it's one of those. There's a sports analogy that's always used as like act like you've been there before. Um,
Mm.
and uh, and so it's not like it's like we don't need to shout about it or anything like that. There's also a lot of power in just being like, no,
I,
we're
I,
back, we're the
I mean,
biggest.
it's not even just trying to show off, but like things that could be cool to understand. Like, let's say how many chat message has been gone through because of people playing this game, or how
Yeah,
many emotes were used. Then it kind of show not just like, oh, people are engaging. Of course, that's kind of like, of course, that's very engaging. That's how you see it. But show like, oh my god, there's so many people playing these games. Then you're getting some more parents. Like, what are these games that kids are playing? What are these things that everyone's talking about?
I
Yeah.
love infographics and logo soup.
Yeah.
I want us to do more. I just did a logo soup for our ecosystem because we're over a few hundred companies that are profitable building things about Riot, and
Mm.
I wanted to put together like this thing where it's like so I can use it on internal presentations where it's just like here's every logo of every company that's making money around Riot, and people being like, oh, I didn't realize there was that many.
It's like
Um,
a Game Boy and Proctor. It's like every
exactly,
single thing.
exactly, yeah. And so I understand that, and I think that's very powerful. It's something I push for. It is it. Those are some of those decisions that the insights, and various other people make decisions on, and I don't really mess with them as much as possible.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. How can people find you? What's the best
Uh,
way?
Best way to find me is I was gonna say Twitch, but no. Best way to find me is twitter.com/GCHORBA, G Chorba. I tweet there. I answer DMs. If you have questions about how do I build business around gaming, or you need advice, or if you want to talk career stuff, I'm pretty open to talking pretty much about anything.
Awesome.
I'm not the best about responding, as Martin could say, but like really, but I do get back to
You're
you.
doing healthy stuff. Yesterday when I messaged you, you were on a run. That was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And today you
Right.
messaged me and I was golfing.
See, like you're being active. That's good. That's good for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching or listening, whether you're watching it live, listening to it live, or watching it and listening afterwards. Thank you so much for joining. And of course, again, you can watch us more on Twitch, listen to this on Spotify, iTunes, many other platforms. And thanks for the follows and all the sub. And yeah, has been great. Thank you so much, Gene. And I will see you all next time then. All right. Bye.